On the next all-new Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War.
You did well to inflict this much damage on me. The real miracle is the one that happens in a moment of crisis.
Captain?
I've heard enough.
Very effective, Captain. And scary.
Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War, The Conflict. Next Saturday at 12:30 a.m. Only Toonami on Adult Swim. On the next all-new episode of Blue Lock.
They're here.
Team Y.
They lost their first match the same as us, so their backs are against the wall. They'll be desperate.
Fortuna, go! Incoming down the wing!
Don't give them space!
I've done my homework on your dribbling. In that case,
Shoot it!
now's your chance!
Blue Lock. New episode next Saturday at 1 a.m.
You know what we gotta do!
Yeah!
Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Greetings, everyone. It's Toonami Therapy, your podcast that you're listening to right now. We're recording on February 18th of 2026. I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tommy.
And as always, we're here to just be talking about anime stuff we've been watching. Sometimes other things, but primarily anime, except for all the tangents and everything else. So, how about that weather, huh? Okay, that was not a tangent that worked. So, we'll, I guess, begin then with the Toonami series, Primal, episode 25. What was going on here was that, well, Zombie Spear showed up, and to the group, Fang seems really suspicious, but Mira seems more okay with it. There's actually quite a bit of comedy in the first half of this episode where Spear is unsuccessfully trying to communicate with them, and the fact that and the difficulty he has like sitting down because of the whole zombie thing. And I also did like the funny reactions of the other two guys who were with them when they see Zombie Spear and they try to do some sort of weird sort of ritual, apparently, because he's undead. They were funny, but then they get killed later on in the episode, so that's unfortunate. Basically, after that, they, I guess, continue on the quest to try to rescue all the villagers. Then they end up getting attacked by a bunch of mandrills, but Mira gets captured but manages to escape, and the others beat the mandrills. She also falls from a height that I know she is being her fall is being somewhat broken by Spear holding her, but yeah, I think that might have been more dangerous for her than it should have. But then I guess they all just keep going afterwards. So I don't know if you watched the episode or not, because I know you didn't see it last week, but I thought this was a pretty good episode. I don't know if you did or if you even watched it.
No, I didn't. I didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
No, I mean it's a 2 episodes you didn't see that were the best of the season. I was surprised. I really liked this episode. I like the season. The earlier episodes were just kind of boring, and I'm like, oh wait, look! Now that we've actually got the other characters back, it's more interesting. There's a plot. There's jokes. It's funny. Well, anyway, moving on to something you did watch Bleach, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, Bleach episode 37.
Okay, so it's Shisui who's still fighting that one Quincy, which starting to wonder what the definition of a Quincy is even, because it's just like this. It's this unexplainable object that's apparently a Quincy. And let's see. So we have this sad flashback about Nanao and her bringing up and Shunsui knowing her mother or being the brother of her mother um and then she gets her Zanpakuto for the first time ever and unleashes it, and it's supposed to be like super, super special. So she fights the guy with it, and she apparently wins. I'm not sure. Maybe not. But she survives, and Shunsui survives, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's the plot basically. You know, I think we mentioned before about how Nanao was his niece. I actually think I think that might have technically been a spoiler. I think this is actually the first. I think this is actually when it was revealed. I don't think it was known before.
Yeah, I think so too. And I felt so bad for bringing that up whenever I saw this episode because I'm like, crap, this is when we were supposed to find out. We weren't supposed to find out by checking the Bleach wiki. So
I just assumed it had been mentioned before, but I guess this was when it was first revealed.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. The fight was kind of fun, although it does. There's something I remember someone kind of complaining about, and I'm looking back, I'm realizing, yeah, this is the case. Of the elite Quincy's in these fights, in both of these fights so far, and I think it's the case for some future ones also. If any other Soul Reaper had fought, they would have lost. Like Mayuri, well, more specifically, I guess Nemu was the only one who had the specific powers to beat that enemy, it seemed. And especially in this case, because the Quincy guy is like, I am invincible, nothing can hurt me, all this stuff. I am a god. And then, now it's like, well, what do you know? I have the one sword that is capable of beating you by reflecting your power back at you.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and it doesn't seem like anyone else would have been able to win that fight. It was just that. In fact, now that I think about it, both this and the previous Quincy weren't even beaten by the captains. They were beaten by their lieutenants.
Yeah, they were. Maybe that's on purpose.
Okay. So, yeah. I did notice also, there was a bunch of like old, sort of more classic Bleach music that played in this episode. And I was thinking, have they heard? Is it just? I feel like we haven't heard a bunch of them for a while, but maybe they did, and I just forgot. I just took more note of that.
Yeah, they had last week. They had one of the old Bleach songs with English lyrics to it. And they've had On the Precipice of Defeat in different forms throughout the new, but that was never meant to be long. That had the English lyrics last episode. So yeah, they are going with some classic music, which is nice. I just don't like the fact that it's just so dark and gloomy, and it's lost all the fun stuff that made Bleach, fun anime, not just this dark, type of thing.
Okay. Yeah. I was also the design of that Quincy, because before he was just kind of he looked like fine and kind of normal, but here it's like, what is he? Is he like a giant bird creature or whatever? What is that supposed to be? His face looks kind of like a bird with a big neck, but it was just like, wow, he looks weird now. Okay, so we move on to Blue Lock, episode 2.
Okay, so that guy who was the good soccer player, he got tagged out and now he has to leave, but he throws a temper tantrum before he leaves. And the ego, the guy who's in charge of Blue Lock, tells him all the reasons why that was actual soccer practice, even though it didn't look like it. So he's gone, and I don't think he ever shows up again, but I could be wrong. Um, and then they find out what Blue Lock is like. They're into uh, 5 different parts of a pentagon, and those people who are in Z are they're stuck with bad food and bad living conditions. And of course, our hero is in that class Z, and so they're trying to do life there, and he meets a guy whose name I can't remember, but he has the different color hair.
Bachira?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so he meets him and they kind of hit it off, and then it's time for whatever they're going to do next.
Yeah. They're going to go into like the actual soccer game where, remember, I was just thinking, like, Ego is like going on about how, yeah, I know you're all strikers, so you're just going to, but you're still going to, just play against the other teams of all strikers. Someone gets stuck with the role of goalie anyway.
I
But
thought they had like a electronic goalie or
yeah,
something in these early episodes.
well, no, they don't have it yet because the writer hadn't
Oh.
thought of them yet. It's basically true though. They don't have them here, and then later on it's just like, yeah, we have holographic, like, we have physical holograms as goalies now. um but yeah, it is just a little when they're saying, yes, we're going, when like Ego's explaining, before we had all these specific positions, there were just, like the players, reinvent uh soccer from zero, obligatory re-zero reference here. and and then I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's okay reinventing it, but from what I remember, the way it plays out, it's, yeah, they're basically just playing regular soccer, really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that he at least points out the obvious fact that they're all strikers and they are playing positions they're not supposed to play. I'm glad he at least is self-aware, but it still strikes me as stupid because that's even if he thinks, okay, this is the new way of beating uh, the rest of the world. Well, I don't think if you put out a team of 11 strikers, they're going to be able to take down Argentina or Brazil or Portugal or whoever. Uh, in fact, they might not even beat the United States. That's how bad they'd be. So, um, so you know, I get that he's trying to find a striker, but unless the whole goal of this thing is to get one striker and no one else, which I'm thinking it is, but the fact that we know what happens in season 2, and season 2, basically has these guys playing normal soccer, except they're all supposed to be strikers. So yeah, it baffles me. I think it's just like a little bit of that. I have to, you know, suspend my plausibility for it and just say, yeah, this is just blue lock.
yeah, suspend your disbelief. What I
Yeah,
I
that's what I
do
mean.
I do still think I liked what I once saw. I think I once saw someone say, which says, "Blue Lock is a soccer manga by someone who appears to hate soccer." Yeah, but yeah, that's the other. But getting back, it is funny when they're talking about, yeah, reinvent soccer, figure out, new ways to play. And except then when we get to the actual game in season 2, it's just, yeah, we're just playing normally, really. There's still all the different positions and stuff. So, and actually, that is a quick question I needed to ask because I don't really know soccer that well. I just want to double check the different positions and stuff. Like, other than striker, I can't rattle them all. And goalie, I can't rattle them all off. Well, like center field, that sort of thing. I think they're called.
Midfielders, cornerbacks,
Yeah.
wing backs. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to to ask something quick. In the games of soccer, while they have those positions, those are like they can technically in the game they all get to do the same thing. Like if you're like, a specific one that doesn't limit you in the rules to certain stuff.
No, you can go wherever you want.
Okay.
Okay. So, but your coach won't be happy with you.
Okay.
Because you're supposed to be guarding a certain bit of the field, and the longer you stay where you're supposed to stay, the higher rating you'll get after a game. That's how it works in the video game, and that's pretty much how it works in real life. Okay. So you stay at home where you're supposed to be, but there's times like late in the game, wherever you need a goal really bad, everyone's going to come up to try for a corner kick. They'll use the corner kick, and you'll try to get as many people down there as possible to try to head it into the goal. So they aren't concrete positions.
Okay.
But a striker's job is basically to score, and everyone else is like the midfielders, those guys up front, they're trying to get the ball to the striker, and then everyone else is trying to play defense to prevent a goal from being scored against them.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding it, and that like their positions are more for practicality than like any actual rule. Other than the goalie, obviously they have their own specific rules.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So got that. Then we move on to Tokyo Revengers episode 2. So basically they figure out the stuff that's necessary to go back in time, and the goal basically, once again, because I cannot remember people's names in this series. Basically, the guy who was the younger brother of that girl, he's like he wants the main character to go back in time again and try to change things so that again she doesn't die. What he needs to do is to try to basically prevent these two guys from meeting, but goes back in time, but then after getting beaten up again, realizes, oh, that might actually be way harder to accomplish. So then he gets beaten up some more. This guy, like, I feel like gets beaten up more than Subaru in ReZero. So, but then at the end, when there's going to be a fight between these other two people, he goes and tries to sort of challenge the gang leader to the fight instead, as I guess part of a plan to, I think he mostly just wanted to stop the fight because he knew that one of the guys was going to get super injured in it. And so, yeah, that's basically what happens in the episode. Although I'm still left wondering, they're going with this convoluted stuff. Can't he just go back in time and just tell Hinata, that was her name, just say, okay, on this date, do not go to this festival. Don't do it. You'll die. Because that's exactly what he did for her brother, and it worked. So just tell. So even if you want to try this other stuff as a backup, just tell her that. At least I was very confused why she didn't. But yeah, that was the episode. I wasn't huge on it, but I guess the ending at least left me a little curious about what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty dreadful. The thing where he's getting beaten up by a baseball bat, like it wouldn't take too many swings for him to get killed by being swung at by a wooden baseball bat. It wasn't like he was being swung at with a plastic bat. That was like a wooden bat. And uh, I mean, if you can kill someone in Grand Theft Auto with it, then you can definitely do it in real life. That's what I think. But seriously, he would not survive that. But yeah, I just thought this was a terrible episode. Um, he's trying to avoid one thing, but he's pretty much powerless. So instead of doing what you said he should do, he tries going about it in these stupid ways, and all that happens is he just keeps getting beaten up, and it's like, well, where's the progress in this? And we still don't even know why she dies, how she dies. So we're kind of left out of the loop on that. So I don't know. I just did not enjoy this episode. I the whole handshake thing, that just seemed too easy. And oh, there's one other thing I wanted to complain about. Like what happened with him getting in front of a train? Like, did he survive that? Like, they never even explain it. They just, he's just alive, We never find out, oh, something happened, like the train stopped in time, or maybe he bounced out and only got slightly injured or something. We don't know. And that is a pretty big glaring plot hole. So, yeah, I did not like this episode.
I feel like the younger brother character, what was his name? I need to check on it. Takamichi. That was it. He yeah, apparently if he and if no, Takamichi's the main character, sorry. Naoto is the guy, is the other person. Yeah, apparently if they shake hands it warps him. So I feel like he said that because of the changes in the timeline, he saved him from the train or something, but it didn't really explain how. Okay, wait, here's another thing. I'm kind of surprised it didn't occur to me before. I feel like it should have occurred to them at least, because this is one of the most obvious things that people always say about in time travel. How about you do this? You look up what the winning lottery numbers were for the state, and then you get a ticket, and then you'll get all the money, and I'm sure you can use that money to like fix things. And you're like saying, and like, okay, maybe he's like, I don't know what the rules are in Japan. Maybe he's not old enough to buy them. He could at least go and tell like his parents, hey, I've time traveled. How about you get a lottery ticket? And that way, and maybe that can help me out. Why you could do a lot of stuff to help stop this if you have money from a lottery jackpot. So yeah, that just suddenly occurred to me. I was thinking, yeah, why don't you just do something like that? All right. So yeah, definitely like the weaker of the show so far we've discussed. So we'll get to One Piece episode 764. All right, so basically, Sanji manages to figure out that the bad guys won't be able, are under orders not to kill or harm him. So he's able to use that to get the others away out of where they are to save them. Although he gets captured, though he does give Nami this note where dang it, this is one of those things that I read this in the manga and I can't remember if we actually saw the note in this episode, but whatever. It just basically says, it's just this note to Luffy saying, I'm going to be gone. I have something I need to take care of. And that's just it, more or less. So yeah, the bad guys get away with Sanji, and we're done with the flashback, it seems now. And of course, Luffy's basically saying, we're going to go rescue him.
Yeah, we're gonna go save the Demon King from whatever. Yeah, so I thought this was a pretty entertaining episode, actually. I know there was slow motion padding at one point in this episode. It was glaringly obvious it was padding. I was like, okay, how many seconds can we get out of each of these slow-mos? And they got about 2 minutes out of that. They did a good job. But yeah, I found this episode kind of entertaining. So I can't exactly complain about it. It was okay.
Yeah, I really feel like if this was just, it's a problem that's always the case with One Piece. I'm sure I would have liked this a lot more if this had just been at a more regular pace. But if we set aside the pacing problems, yeah, it was pretty decent. Okay. All right, on to Yu Hakusho. New arc start. We know that because they changed the theme song a bit. Not like it's still the same song, but like some of the visuals are different. So, we're on episode 95. Yusuke basically is still annoyed about the fact that he didn't get to beat Sensui in the previous season. So Genkai just says, well, why don't you just talk to this former spirit detective? Maybe she can help. So Yusuke does go there, talks with them. Turns out apparently her kids have like at least some kind of special powers also, although they're mostly just there for comic relief, I think. And then before they really get that much resolved, some other guys show up and they say, hey, we're from Demon World and we're here for Yusuke. And yeah, that was basically the episode. It was kind of, I guess, a bit of a straightforward one. I just thought it was okay, but didn't really leave me with that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not much to say about this. It wasn't too interesting to me this week. I'm still trying to figure out like why Yusuke's all depressed and stuff. He's like because of his ancestors or something.
I think he's mostly just annoyed about the fact that someone else won the fight instead of him, because he basically got possessed by his ancestor, and he's annoyed because he wasn't the one that got to beat Sensui. Although honestly, he probably couldn't have beaten him, but he's still annoyed about that. The fact that he needed someone stronger than him to basically come in and do it. That's more or less it. Yeah, I mean, there were some things I liked, but on the whole, I was just kind of, This final arc is usually considered one of the weaker parts of the series. So
we left the best part of Yu Hakusho then.
Well, a lot of people think the best part is the Dark Tournament, but definitely people, which was a while ago, but definitely people think this final arc, what's called the Three Kings Saga, was was a definite big step down from that and Chapter Black. So we'll see. I don't remember disliking it too much when I originally watched it, but that was so long ago. I can barely remember anything other than remembering, well, what everyone says, which is that the ending feels pretty rushed. So we'll see. We're final arc. There's not that many episodes left. So yeah, how many episodes were there total? Yeah, there's like 16 left. So we're getting close to the end. How many? Actually, let me check. How many episodes did Hunter x Hunter have in total in comparison? Let's see. The anime one we watched, that was the second anime series, that's the one we watched. That had a total of 148 episodes, which is more than Yu Hakusho. Yu Hakusho tops out at 112. All right. So we move on. Gnosia, episode 12.
Okay, so oh boy. Now I come to this and suddenly I just blank on what happened.
It focuses mostly on Gina.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and they know that they both know that who the Gnosia is, and that they kind of start out by knowing who the Gnosia is, right? Am I right about that?
Well, wait, when you say they, are you talking about Gina or Yuri or
Yuri.
Yuri doesn't start out, but Gina basically tells him like midway through the episode, by the way, I'm totally Gnosia. um that was what happened. Do you want me to explain it then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So basically, this episode more or less is from Gina's point of view. I don't. Do we actually get to hear Yuri's thoughts in this episode? I can't remember, but it basically focuses on her. So once again, Yuri's going through the loop and ends up having to tell Gina about that. They talk and Yuri's like, yeah, I was Gnosia in this one former loop, and when I was that way, I totally did, kind of trick people. Then Gina's like, oh, I'm Gnosia. Now I feel really bad about that. So I guess it didn't completely take over her yet in this loop. So Yuri's kind of, because Gina just straight up wants to be frozen as a result, but Yuri,
Right.
I can't even remember why he didn't, unfortunately. But basically, Gina more or less sabotages the Gnosia, and everyone figures out the other is Otome. And then, and then Gina's like, yeah, oh, by the way, we also got her backstory. That's a big thing. Basically, her mother got involved in this religious cult, which I think which they say is actually the same cult that Yuriko is a priestess of. So there's that, which basically does this thing to you that essentially erases you. So she doesn't want to get, which she compares to what happens when what the Gnosia do to people. Although this never stopped her in the past loops of doing that, or even in this one. So I don't know how that all fits together. The big thing though is that she's again at the end, hey, you can freeze me, but then something happens, so she goes out so she ends up saving everyone, although dying in the process. So that all works out. And also how many characters is this now? Are we up to 3? She says she's in love with Yuri.
Yeah, Yuri's getting a harem, that's for sure.
Let's see. We've got SQ, we've got Comet, although that was a Gnosia Comet, so maybe that doesn't count. And we got Gina, although this also was a Gnosia Gina, so who knows? And yeah, that's it. I guess the main big part of this episode was to get Gina's backstory.
Yeah, I think every character is going to get an episode. I think seems that way.
Well, there's
going to happen when the beluga whale gets its episode.
I know we knew what it was. She was like some sort of like she was experimented on or something, and I think that was why she can talk and all that stuff. Yeah, I wonder. I know some of them we got backstories on, I think earlier in the game. Like when Shigemichi shows up, he basically, I think in just that episode, explains that, oh, he looks that way because they had to do some sort of operation to cure some sort of thing for him that made him like that. I don't think that was explained right away in the game. So yeah, I did like, I think a few weeks ago, I decided I'm just going to watch like the first hour or so of the game, just try to like, understand better how it plays out there. So yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I assume we're going to get more for some of the other characters. Yeah, on the whole, I thought it was a good episode.
I thought it was pretty good, but it wasn't as good as the last few have been. So that's pretty much what I got.
Yeah, I did find it interesting the way, like I said, it really did the whole episode from Gina's perspective. But I am left with something I'm wondering about, because Gina like tells Yuri, "Oh well, I'm not going to be able to spend time with you because you'll just loop." And I'm just thinking, because I don't think Yuri has wondered about this. These loops, when Yuri loops, does the timeline keep going? Is he like just going through all these different universes and the universe continues on without him? Or does it actually just get reset, meaning all this stuff is undone? Because it's not, I'm trying to figure out which one it is, and I'm not sure about it. I like, there's that episode of ReZero where Subaru sees all like what happened, the results of all of like the times where he died, like how characters apparently would have reacted to it and what would have happened. So and now the ReZero left it unclear whether those actually, like whether he's actually making new timelines and whether those happened in those timelines, or whether like this was all just visions and everything actually does just get reset and erased. So I'm left wondering that here, and it's a little surprising to me. It doesn't seem like Yuri's wondered about that. I feel like the implication is that the universes do continue onward, because when Setsu first is talking to Yuri about looping, mentions that Setsu was like in different timelines than Yuri, and it was only at that point that they synced up to again. So I'm not exactly sure how that works. I guess maybe we'll find out that in the end, or maybe it will just be left ambiguous, but that's something I was wondering about.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Anything else to say about it?
No, not really.
All right. So then we get to, may I ask for one final thing, episode 12. All right, so they basically go off to the place. They need to get to the Holy Gem, because that's where they need to get to that regardless, I think, but that's also where Terraneza is. So they go there, and then what basically happens is I don't know if there's a name for it, but the thing where characters are like, okay, we'll take care of these enemies, you guys go on ahead. And then they go on ahead, and then someone shows up, and one of them says, okay, I'll take care of this guy, you go on ahead. We just get that sort of thing. So basically we have Julius, I think his name, fight this guy, so Scarlet goes to fight Terraneza and seems to be doing okay, but then Terraneza manages to you do this thing to mind control Julius, and is saying, you won't attack him, and then Scarlet just attacks him. Which was that was kind of funny. And yeah, that was the episode. A whole lot. What I remember I think in 5th grade when I like read Lord of the Rings for, I don't know, we were supposed to read books and just like make notes about them as we read them or something. And I always remember by one point in one of the Lord of the Rings where it just like said chapter, I just wrote lots of fighting in regards to some of the later battle chapters. And that's almost kind of what I think about here. Just say lots of fighting as the summary.
Yeah, I've come to the realization that this show like isn't about anything. It's just a show. And it's just, it goes from plot line to plot line and nothing really connects with each other. It's just like, okay, what exactly was this all about in the first place? And like, why have we gone from a banquet with lots of punches to, you know, giant orcs and then dragons and then all this war talk? Yeah, it just, the series seems to be meandering all over the place.
I mean, in terms of why everything's going on, it's because I can't remember her name, one of the goddesses, because she's in love with one of the other gods, and he's not returning her affection. Her like answer is to basically try to give power to Terraneza, because remember she was like from Japan, she's been isekai here, and then start up all the fighting and stuff. I can't actually remember how this was supposed to accomplish her actual goals, but it's something like that. That's why we're all doing all this stuff. But that's basically the reason. And I kind of feel like the show's problem is that it kind of had a funny joke, but it just isn't really enough to sustain the show so far. I'm like left thinking we're almost at, apparently this season ends at the end of volume 2 of the book series, and there's 7 books. I'm thinking, where are you going to get like 5 more books worth of stuff? Because it kind of feels like they're stretching a little already.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like the joke stuff was better. I think maybe the problem with the show is that it's gotten too serious, and it doesn't do serious as well as when it's just like, kind of more lighthearted stuff of just Scarlet going around punching bad guys. Okay. All right, we can move on. And then we've got Spy Family episode 44. So, the hijackers have taken control of the bus, and they want to take the kids hostage. But since Anya is able to read minds, she's able to figure out where they're being taken and manages to leave a message, throw out a message outside to let some people know. And they are able to, corner the bus. But then the hijackers decide, just pull, but it still turns into a hostage situation. So there's that, and the kids are, I guess, trying to figure out how to get out of that, and everyone's just trying to stop the whole thing. And that's basically where it ends there, especially when you find out the state security is just like, yeah, we don't care about the kids, we want to go in. So yeah, it's still kind of a dangerous situation there, Ian, even if there were a whole bunch of like jokes along the way in the episode.
Yeah, how about that thing where he puts that fake bomb on Anya and Anya starts acting up because she knows it's not real. And then
Yeah.
Damien is like, I'm going to do something really brave. I'm going to get that thing taken off her and put on me. Instead, he just gets his own thing put on him himself. So now he's super scared. So you're right. This is Red Circus. That was not Lloyd in disguise, which is what I originally thought. I originally thought that was Lloyd in disguise. I was like, okay, he's trying to pull off some super big stunt by posing as a terrorist. And I'm like, he's taking it a little too far. But yeah. So I like this episode not quite as much as the last episode, or yeah. Yeah, not quite as much as the last episode, but I still like this episode and thought it was very entertaining, and I look forward to seeing how they resolve this.
Yeah, I do like the fact, even though it's a serious situation, they managed to keep the jokes up, and they didn't really feel that out of place either, because the kids are kind of dumb, and we do get some good stuff from Anya's mind reading. I especially like the part where Anya's like writing this note, and then like, oh, is that in code? And she goes, no, my handwriting's just bad.
I would know. I have terrible handwriting. But yeah, Bleach should take notes that even whenever you've got a serious situation, you can still liven things up and make things a little, a little more humorous, a little more happy, even in these situations that are life and death. So, yeah, Bleach should be taking notes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. So after that, we move on to the last one, My Hero Academia Vigilantes, episode 18. So we've gotten so Knuckle Duster is back. He showed up. He hasn't met up with the other main characters yet, but presumably will. So that'll be interesting to see. We've got, this stuff going on, and the show decides, how about we just drop all that and go into an Eraserhead flashback. So yeah, basically the episode is just about him, Present Mike, Midnight, and this other guy who we haven't seen in the present, so something horrible probably happens to him at some point. But yeah, just them going to UA, the superhero school, and there's a cat involved, and yeah, that's there's not all that much that really happens in this episode. I don't think, outside of just flashing back to when they were younger.
Yeah.
It was reasonably entertaining, honestly, but it just feels like so out of nowhere to suddenly have this flashback.
Yeah, I was kind of bored by this episode, sad to say. Unfortunately, it just did not capture my attention. And then it was so boring that I thought I must have watched the wrong episode. So I'm like panicking. I'm like, great. Now, how far off am I watching episodes? Am I like one off? Am I two off? Like where have I gone? And then you told me, oh no, you watched the right episode. So yeah.
Oh, I think I said this with episode 18. Sorry, this was episode 19. I think so. Yeah, it is weird. Not. I've been mildly spoiled on something in this flashback, because it later ends up mattering in main My Hero Academia, which was maybe I'll have more to say about that when we actually reach the end of it. Maybe it's not even in this flashback. Maybe it's a later thing, but that's basically it for that. It just seems such a weird placement for this is all. So I don't know what was going with that. Anyway, all right, that's My Hero Academia Vigilantes, and that's all of them then. All right, shall we pick our favorites?
Yeah, I got them right here. Well, it's kind of similar to last week. We've got Blue Lock again. We've got Spy Family again. and we've got a best girl's name who starts with N again. But this time it's Nanao. I was thinking of giving it to Anya, but I was like, nah, Nanao had like an entire episode all about her, so she deserves it.
Yeah. For me, well, my favorite one on Toonami was Primal, but if we don't want to count that because you didn't see it, I would say Blue Lock. So count that however you want to, if anyone's actually keeping track of mine. For the non-Toonami series, yeah, it's pretty easy. It's Spy Family.
Yeah, that was kind of easy this week.
All right. Anything else to discuss?
I did watch another episode of Solo Leveling. I think it was episode 9, if I'm not mistaken. And it's starting to actually get pretty good. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. I just want Shaw to show up. So because I already know everything about her, even though I'm not supposed to. You know, you just Google her name and boom, that's the first thing that comes up, the biggest spoiler in the world. So, yeah.
Okay. I've been mostly I've been spoiled on some stuff about her, but I don't know if I've been spoiled specifically on what you've been spoiled, what you're talking about. The big thing, what you're referring to is probably what I'm thinking about, but you can tell me after the podcast, I guess. Unless you want to like try to give any hints for anyone who was, I don't know. Do you want to give any indication what you specifically were talking about, or is it one of those things where it's hard to actually say it without spoiling something?
Waifu.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about then. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Unfortunately, I don't have anything exciting to really talk about. Unfortunately, so I don't. So that's unfortunately all I have for there. So next week, well, it'll be the same general lineup, but we will be finishing with May I Ask for One Final Thing. So we'll see how that ends up ending. And yeah, I don't have anything else to do. Sorry to say. So without further ado, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Overrun by demons.
You're going down. Take this!
KG and his feathered crew
Hold on tight!
are all that stand between humanity and total annihilation.
Livestock is challenging me to a fight!
When the world needs a different kind of hero,
I'm over here, fish breath!
he takes a licking and keeps on chicken.
Finishing move!
Hear that squawk? Here comes that cock. Rooster Fighter premieres Saturday, March 14th at midnight. Cluck around and find out. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.